It was a clear, warm day, typical of tropical Brazil, when Jair Bolsonaro adjusted the helmet on his head. This was no ordinary day. It wasn't just another appointment on his agenda as leader of a nation that loved him and hoped for a better country, or criticized him fervently. That day, he would be just a man on two wheels, leading a crowd that believed in his ideals. The motorcade has already become a symbol, a spectacle of devotion and hope. But for Bolsonaro, it was more than that. He knew that behind every roaring motorcycle there was a story. Stories of workers, entrepreneurs, young people and the elderly who felt represented, ignored or even silenced by traditional political narratives. It was for them that he got on the bike that day. At dawn, the streets were already filled with motorcyclists from every corner of Brazil. They arrived in caravans, their flags waving in the wind, their horns echoing like hymns. It was impossible not to feel the energy, the human warmth that flowed from the crowd. As Bolsonaro approached the starting point, he observed the faces around him. There was a mosaic of Brazilian society, men and women of different ages, colors and social classes, united by something greater than themselves. In the middle of the crowd, a young woman held up a sign, "My father believed in you. Now I do too." Bolsonaro stared at the girl and smiled beneath his helmet. She reminded him that, in the midst of the political turmoil, there was a Brazil that still dreamed. The roar of the engines started the motorcade. Bolsonaro was in the front line, as he always preferred to be, the wind cutting across his face as the road opened up before him. At his side, some allies and longtime friends accompanied him, but it was in the crowd behind him that he found true strength. As they advanced, the streets turned into a sea of green and yellow flags. People on the sidewalks cheered, shouting his name, waving with hope in their eyes. With every kilometer he ran, the emotion grew inside him. It was impossible not to feel the weight of that responsibility. Those thousands of faces expected more from him than words. They wanted action, courage, and determination. During a brief refueling stop, Bolsonaro was approached by a man with gray hair and calloused hands. The man wore a green and yellow cap and seemed hesitant but determined. "President," he began, his voice breaking, "I'm a farmer and I've spent years fighting to keep my land. I've thought about giving up many times, but you've given me strength. This motorcade is not just about motorcycles. It's about showing that Brazil can still be great." Bolsonaro shook the man's hand firmly, feeling the truth in those words. There was no speech or advertisement that could capture the essence of that moment. It was a real human encounter, full of meaning. When the motorcade resumed, the landscape began to change. They left the urban center for open roads flanked by fields and mountains. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. It was a natural spectacle that seemed to bless the day. Bolsonaro, lost in his thoughts, reflected on the challenges he would face up to that point. The pressure, the criticism, the difficult decisions. All of this seemed minor in the face of the energy emanating from that crowd. He remembered his childhood, the moments when his father taught him about the value of hard work and honesty. Those teachings guide him to this day. While crossing a bridge over a serene river, something unexpected happened. A group of motorcyclists began to slow down, and soon everyone followed suit. Within seconds, the roar of the engine ceased, giving way to an impressive silence. It was as if everyone just wanted to listen to the sound of nature and feel the weight of that historic moment. Bolsonaro looked back and saw the length of the line of motorcycles. It was an impressive sight. He raised his arm in a gesture of thanks and reverence. It wasn't about him. It had never been just about him. It was about Brazil and what it represented to those people. When the event finally reached its destination, A large square in the heart of the city. Thousands of people were already waiting. Bolsonaro got off his motorcycle, helmet still in hand, and walked towards the stage. As he climbed the steps, he felt the weight of every gaze on him. There was a mixture of hope, expectation, and emotion. He began to speak, his voice firm but charged with emotion. Today wasn't just a motorcade. It was a cry for freedom. It was proof that Brazil is made up of you, men and women who work, who fight and who believe. I'm not perfect, but I'm one of you. And as long as I have the strength, I will fight for our country. The crowd erupted in applause, shouts and tears. That moment would be engraved in the collective memory of everyone present. That's when he noticed a man with calloused hands, his face marked by time, holding a small Brazilian flag. Next to him was a young man, probably his son, with a twinkle in his eye. Bolsonaro approached. "President," said the man, his voice breaking, "we don't have much, but we're here because we believe that you fight for people like us. My son wanted to meet the man who gave us hope for a better future." Bolsonaro was silent for a moment, moved. He held the man's hand and then the boy's. "I'm not perfect," he said, looking directly at the boy. "But I promise you one thing. As long as I have the strength, I will fight to make Brazil a better place for you to grow up in." The boy smiled, and his father, with tears in his eyes, hugged the president. That moment encapsulated what the motorcade represented. A united Brazil, full of challenges, but with renewed hope. A message for Brazil. That evening, on his way home, Bolsonaro reflected on the day. He climbed up to a small lookout point near the road, from where he could see the city lights in the distance. He took off his helmet, took a deep breath and let the wind carry his thoughts away. In an impromptu video, he spoke directly to the Brazilians. Today, what we saw on the streets wasn't just a motorcade. It was the heart of Brazil beating, saying that it believes in its strength, its freedom and its future. I've seen simple men and women, who carry the country on their backs, show that no matter how difficult the road, Brazilians never give up. I know that Brazil has its scars, but it also has a people who don't lower their heads. And as long as there are people with courage, faith and determination, our country will always have a bright future ahead of it. Believe in yourself. Believe in Brazil. Because together, we are greater than any challenge. Good night, and God bless you all. That video went viral, touching millions of hearts. It didn't matter which side of politics anyone was on, the message was clear. Brazil is made up of people who don't give up, who stand up and face life with courage and determination. And so Jair Bolsonaro's motorcade was forever etched in our memories as a moment of unity, emotion and hope for a country that never stops dreaming. What about you? Have you ever taken part in a motorcade or a moment as exciting as this? What was your experience? Share your story. If you haven't had the chance to take part, what do you imagine it would be like? After all, events like this aren't just gatherings. They're living chapters in Brazil's history, where each of us plays our part. If you like this story, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Your participation is very important for us to continue bringing inspiration, unity, and messages of hope. Send a message of hope and love to the Brazilians watching this video. Until the next video.